Over the last 30 years, I've always had a local ploughman, a very skilled man called Sam Bradley, do all my ploughing. The only ploughing I'd ever done before I started up Helen's Bay Organic Gardens, which is over 30 years ago, was ploughing with horses. For 3 years I ploughed with a pair of Irish cobs and a single plough, and the plough is still sitting there over in the corner. And But when I left the Folk Museum, I came here and I really didn't have the confidence to plough because it's quite a skilled thing. And so Sam, over the last 30 years, has been ploughing for me. Sam's ploughing is great. The only criticism, if any criticism I would have, is that he has a very big tractor and consequently a very big plough, and it's very hard to get shallow ploughing. And now the wisdom in terms of looking after your soil is to plough very shallow, to try and not go deep. So in order to try and do that, I'm experimenting. I'm going to, I have a master ploughman, Northern Ireland ex-champion, who I made contact with, who's going to come down and teach me how to plough. And in the meantime, I'd actually bought this plough a few years ago, but never used it. This is a competition plough. And it's capable of ploughing down to as shallow as 4 inches or 5 inches, which really is only working the surface of the soil. The reason we have to do this is if we've got a lot of thrash on the soil, you know, weeds that have grown over the winter time, because the climate in Ireland is very mild, and also the debris from the previous crop. We have to plough those under, otherwise how on earth are we going to plant in the next crop, whether it be another crop of vegetables or whether it's a green manure, a crop of grass and clover to try and build up the organic matter back in the soil again. So in order to be able to do this, we really do have to plough. At least that's the theory anyway, and has been the way we've been doing it for centuries. This lovely old plough is, it cost me only £600. I've just been told it's worth now £1,200. I do have some things to do though. I need to put, these are called points, these down here, and I need to put new points. Those points are too shallow, they're too worn. So I need to get new points and I need to get new discs. Those discs, they spin, as you can see. So they cut the ground just where the plough goes in, so the plough lifts the soil over nice and cleanly. If you didn't cut the ground in advance, you'd be taking over big lumps of soil. So I'm going to replace those. And that's really all I have to do. So, I do have one other thing to do. That rust, I can't have rust on that. So the idea, I'll be spending quite some hours with sandpaper on a special tool with sandpaper spinning around on it to try and get all that rust off. That has to be shining, absolutely. You need to be able to see yourself in it, ideally. So I have quite a bit of work to do to get it ready. Now, that's just one way of dealing with the soil. Something new has been developing over the last few years, and you can see behind me over here that the ground is covered. And that is tarpaulin sheets covered with a net, the nets that we use for covering our crops to keep the pigeons and rabbits off, and that keeps the wind from lifting the tarpaulin up in the wind. We have about 300 or 400 sandbags on it as well, otherwise it would be here, it'd probably be in the neighbour's field. So, and it's been very successful. What that does instead is it allows us to put compost on in the autumn, and we cover up the bed. And then in the spring, when we take that back out, because light hasn't been able to get through, we only have to till the surface. So it's called minimum till, very, very little tillage to make up a bed to plant into it. We've been doing that now this will be our 3rd year doing it here. And already last year, which was the 2nd year, we could start to see how significantly better that top 2 or 3 inches was from not having turned it over and mixed, you know, the soil at 6 and 7 inches down with it. So we're going to continue experimenting with this. I don't know if it's something we can expand to the whole farm, but it's certainly something we will continue here on a smaller scale, because not alone is it a way of looking after the soil better, but it also allows us to get in much earlier. If I've got to plough the ground, the earliest I can plough here is March, sometimes April, and it usually takes 2 or 3 weeks after ploughing, depending on the weather, before the soil is in fine enough condition to break it down and fit enough to plant into. Whereas with this, we can just literally take the cover off, wait 2 or 3 days for it to dry off, till the surface very, very lightly, and plant into it. So we can get stuff out there in March, whereas if I had to plough on this heavy clay soil we've got, I probably wouldn't be getting stuff out till the end of April or even the beginning of May.